Hi, and thank you for visiting my channel. For more information, kindly subscribe and follow. Now let's get started. On the upcoming WWE SmackDown, Sami Zayn is going to be talking to Roman Reigns as well as Jey and Jey Uso to discuss things after the chaos that ensued at Crown Jewel. Before that, he sent an emotional message. The star was on Raw and spoke to Jey and Jey Uso to sort out the issues between them. Before he did, though, he addressed the crowd in Riyadh and spoke about how it filled him with pride. What he told the crowd translates to, "May God's peace, mercy, and blessings be upon you." An emotional Zayn said that he didn't know how a red-headed Syrian kid from Montreal had made the jump to the top of the business, but he had arrived. He said that he was glad he got to represent his culture and his people at the level he does. Zayn will be representing his culture once more when he steps up on WWE SmackDown to talk with Roman Reigns and the Usos. I have been thinking a lot about the significance of this moment. To stand in the middle of the ring and say fills me with a sense of pride that's hard to articulate. I don't know how a little red-headed Syrian Muslim kid from Montreal ascended among the top of this remarkable industry, but I am here. And to represent my culture and my people at this level is an astounding privilege that is not lost on me. Much love to you all for supporting me and getting me this far, he wrote. Sami Zayn will have a big job on WWE SmackDown with Roman Reigns, Jey Uso, and Jey Uso. Sami Zayn arrived at Crown Jewel to set things right with the OG bloodline, but in his attempts to help Roman Reigns, things went very wrong. The miscommunication ended up with him hitting the original tribal chief with his hell of a kick inadvertently. There was chaos that followed as well, and now no one is sure whose side anyone is on. Jey Uso begged Sami Zayn on Raw to turn up on SmackDown and talk things out with Reigns and his former bloodline family. Fans will have to wait and watch what happens, but if Zayn can't convince the OTC of his good intentions, the OG bloodline could be badly outnumbered heading into Survivor Series, War Games. As the WWE Universe eagerly awaited another explosive episode of SmackDown, the backstage area at the arena was buzzing with anticipation. The electric energy of the crowd could already be felt through the arena's walls. However, one man seemed to stand apart from the chaos and commotion, his thoughts seemingly miles away from the frenzied atmosphere of the upcoming show. Sami Zayn sat quietly in a corner of the locker room, his eyes locked on his phone. He was about to send a message, but not to any of his usual allies or friends. For months, the story of Sami Zayn's relationship with Roman Reigns, Jey, and Jey Uso had been one of the most compelling and emotionally charged sagas in WWE. From being an unlikely ally to Roman Reigns, to becoming the honorary use in the bloodline, and then ultimately facing betrayal, Zayn had gone through a whirlwind of emotions. His loyalty to the bloodline, his sacrifices, his struggles for acceptance, all of it had brought him to this critical point in his career. Taking a deep breath, Sami started typing, his fingers hovering over the keyboard for a moment as he reflected on everything that had brought him to this place. Sami Zayn's message *Hey, family. I've been thinking a lot today about where we've all been, where I've been. I can't lie, it's been a roller coaster, and I don't know where this journey is going. But tonight, it's not just about what happens in that ring, it's about everything we've been through together. The highs, the lows, the betrayals, the brotherhood, it's all intertwined. I know there's a lot of anger in the air, and I'm still processing everything that's happened. But one thing I know for sure, I wouldn't trade any of it for anything, **, whatever happens tonight, whether it's with Roman, Jey, or Jey, I need you to know that I gave it my all. I did everything I could to be the man I promised I'd be. I'm ready for whatever comes next. But no matter what, I will carry my pride. Always. Sami. Sami paused for a moment after hitting send. He knew that what he had just written might seem like a goodbye, but it was more of a declaration. It was a message to himself just as much as it was to anyone else. A moment of clarity before he faced the next chapter of his journey, one that was uncertain but undeniably inevitable. For months, Sami had found himself caught in the tangled web of the Bloodline, a faction led by Roman Reigns, the Universal Champion, and supported by the Usos. It had all started with Roman recruiting Sami to his side, a move that at the time seemed inconceivable but soon made sense. Sami's connection with the Bloodline had been built on respect and trust. He had stood by Roman, becoming his loyal honorary use and sacrificing everything, including his identity, for the sake of the faction. But when the Usos turned their backs on Sami, the ultimate betrayal, everything changed. The pain of that moment still stung. The memories of standing in the ring, hearing the jeers of the crowd, and feeling the weight of Roman's cold stare were still fresh in Sami's mind. Yet despite the hurt, he knew that the Bloodline, in some twisted way, had helped define him. He had learned so much about loyalty, strength, and survival. And now, with the cracks beginning to show within the faction itself, Sami wondered if there was a way back, not just for him, but for everyone. The door to the locker room opened, and Jey Uso walked in, his expression unreadable as he glanced over at Sami. There was an awkward silence, but neither of them said anything at first. Jey, who had been an integral part of Sami's rise and fall within the Bloodline, had always been a complicated figure in Sami's story. He was family, but the distance between them had grown. Jey looked at Sami, his eyes softening just a little. "You good, man?" Jey asked, leaning against the doorframe. Sami looked up at him, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "I will be. Just a lot on my mind." Jey nodded, understanding more than Sami knew. "I hear you. But hey, you've been through a lot, and you've handled it better than most of us would have." Sami chuckled, albeit dryly. "Better than most of us?" "Jey, I don't even know if I handled it well at all. But I guess that's part of the journey, right?" Jey took a few steps into the room, crossing his arms. "Yeah, man. Sometimes things don't go as planned. But that don't mean it's the end. Trust me." The words hit Sami harder than he expected. It wasn't just about the Bloodline anymore. It was about understanding who he was now. How had he changed throughout all of this? What had he lost? What had he gained? Before Sami could respond, the door opened again. This time, it was Jey Uso who walked in. His eyes flickered from Jey to Sami, and though the tension between the brothers had always been there, it felt different now. There was something unspoken, but Jey didn't seem ready to dive into it. "You all right, Sami?" Jey asked, his voice low but sincere. Sami nodded slowly. "Yeah, just trying to figure things out." "Tonight's a big night, man," Jey said, rubbing the back of his neck. "But whatever happens, we're family. Remember that." For a moment, everything was quiet. There, in that room with Jey and Jey, Sami finally allowed himself to feel the weight of the last few months, the betrayal, the heartbreak, and the uncertain future. But despite everything, he knew deep down that there was something more to the story. There had to be. "Yeah," Sami finally replied, standing up and looking at both of the Usos. "We're family. And no matter what happens tonight, that's not changing." Later that night, as the SmackDown broadcast went live, the arena was packed with fans, roaring with excitement as the lights dimmed. Sami Zayn made his way to the ring, his heart racing. He wasn't sure what to expect. Would he face Roman Reigns again, and would the Usos be with him or against him? The uncertainty of it all gnawed at him, but he pushed it to the back of his mind. He was here now, and there was no turning back. As his music hit, Sami stepped through the ropes and into the ring. The tension was palpable. Roman Reigns' presence loomed large, and the Usos' involvement felt like a ticking time bomb. But Sami knew that this was his moment, to either prove himself once again or to walk away with his head held high, no matter the outcome. The crowd erupted, and Sami looked toward the entrance, preparing for what was to come. The journey had brought him here, and tonight, he would write his own fate. Roman Reigns to kick Jey Uso out of the OG bloodline due to one major reason on SmackDown? Potential twist explored. Roman Reigns and the Bloodline are set to make an appearance in tonight's episode of WWE SmackDown. The OG Bloodline is expected to engage in a segment with Sami Zayn, as Jey Uso invited the former Bloodline member for a family discussion. However, the 40-year-old star has yet to confirm his appearance, but he will likely show up to have the conversation. This segment could also lead to a potential twist, with the original tribal chief kicking the YEET master out of the faction. The main reason behind this unexpected move could stem from Jey Uso prioritizing Sami Zayn and siding with him during this family discussion on Friday nights. Jimmy Uso has already confirmed on Raw that neither he nor Roman want to see Sami and are unhappy with his actions at Crown Jewel. This shows that the OTC is frustrated and may not want to hear any justification from Zayn, especially regarding his actions against Roman at the Saudi Arabia event. However, if Jey emphasizes or pressures the head of the table to hear Sami's side, this could lead to the OTC kicking Jey Uso out of the faction. The rationale behind kicking the YEET master of OG Bloodline is that if he can't stand with the family, there's no need for a reunion. Since Sami's reintroduction into the Bloodline saga, Jey has had a soft spot for Zayn, as they formed a strong bond on the Red brand. However, this bond could certainly bring heat to the upcoming SmackDown, as Jey sides with Sami Zayn and justifies his actions at Crown Jewel. Fans will have to wait and see what WWE has in store on tonight's episode of SmackDown and whether Sami Zayn will emerge for the family discussion. Roman Reigns could soon introduce a new Bloodline member. The Bloodline saga has continued to inflate over the past few months, and it is envisioned to grow even further in the coming time. With this, Roman Reigns could soon introduce a new member to his faction in the form of Lance and OI. Recent reports have suggested that Lance has already signed with the Stamford-based promotion but has yet to debut due to injury. This explains why, despite potentially being signed, he has not yet appeared on television. If the news is true and Lance recovers, he might be introduced as the newest member of Roman Reigns' faction. Roman Reigns already has a history with Lance, having once rescued him on Raw from an attack by Drew McIntyre and Shane McMahon. With this history in mind, it seems more likely that if the 32-year-old star is introduced into the Bloodline saga, he will side with Roman Reigns rather than Solo Sikoa. SmackDown, the night after WWE SummerSlam, was electric. The WWE Universe was still buzzing from the chaos that had unfolded, but no one could have predicted what Roman Reigns was about to do. In the center of the squared circle, the tribal chief, Roman Reigns, stood tall, holding the Universal Championship high above his head, a symbol of unmatched dominance. Beside him, the Usos, Jimmy and Jey, stood in solemn silence, their eyes locked onto Roman with a mixture of respect and concern. But tonight would not be a typical chapter in the Bloodline saga. The night began with Roman Reigns making his entrance, his aura of power immediately filling the arena. His reign as the head of the Bloodline had been untouchable, but tonight there was a shift in the air. The crowd murmured, sensing something big was coming. Roman had been wrestling with something internally for weeks, and it was about to be revealed. As Roman stepped into the ring, he grabbed the microphone, his deep voice silencing the crowd. Roman Reigns, the Bloodline, we've been through it all. I've given everything to this family. I built this empire from the ground up. But tonight, I'm here to make a decision. And it's a decision that no one saw coming. Jey Uso, ever loyal but increasingly uneasy in recent weeks, stepped forward, his face filled with tension. He knew something was wrong. Jimmy, standing beside him, shifted uncomfortably, but he stayed silent. The Usos, despite their loyalty, had been at odds with Roman's increasing distance and his ruthlessness. Jey Uso, Roman, what's going on? We're family, you've got us, right? You know we've been with you from day one. Roman paused, a cold smile curling across his face. The silence in the arena grew deafening. He walked around, his eyes narrowing at Jey as the crowd held its breath. Then, he turned and looked directly at Jey, his voice low but filled with power. Roman Reigns, that's the problem, Jey. You've been with me from day one, but the fact is, you've never understood what it truly means to be the leader of the bloodline. You've never fully committed to the cause. Asterisk. The crowd gasped as Jey's face dropped, a look of disbelief spreading across him. He stepped back, not believing his ears. Jey Uso, Roman, what the hell are you talking about? You know I've always had your back. Roman Reigns, no, Jey. You've had my back, but you've never respected me the way you should have. You've been trying to play a part in this family that you don't fully grasp. The truth is, you're not the man who should stand by my side anymore. You are no longer part of the bloodline. Asterisk. The arena fell into a stunned silence. The Usos exchanged a look, and Jimmy stepped forward, trying to intervene. Jimmy Uso, Roman, don't do this. We're brothers. You're making a mistake. Asterisk. But Roman cut him off, his voice seething with anger. Roman Reigns, no, Jimmy. This isn't a mistake. This is the truth. Jey Uso, you're out of the bloodline. The words hit like a ton of bricks, the weight of the decision landing with finality. Jey Uso, who had been by Roman's side through thick and thin, now found himself cast aside. His heart raced, his emotions swirling in a whirlwind. He opened his mouth to speak, but Roman was not finished. Roman Reigns, you've had your chance. And now, it's over. I don't need someone who questions my leadership, someone who isn't willing to sacrifice everything for the family. Asterisk. Jey's eyes filled with frustration and pain. His journey had been defined by his love and loyalty to Roman and the bloodline. Now, it seemed like all of it had been in vain. Jey Uso, you think this is for the family, Roman? This is about your ego. You turned your back on me long before this. I've done everything for you, and you can't even see it. Asterisk. But before the argument could escalate, a surprising twist occurred. The lights in the arena flickered and then went black. The crowd erupted in confusion and excitement as a familiar, thunderous sound echoed through the speakers. The crowd's murmurs intensified as a figure made its way down the ramp, a shadowy outline cutting through the darkness. When the lights came back on, standing at the top of the ramp was none other than Sami Zayn, a former member of the bloodline who had been exiled after his betrayal months ago. Sami's presence was a shock to everyone in the arena, and Roman's face contorted with disbelief. Sami's appearance had always been controversial, but tonight, his return meant something much bigger. Sami Zayn, Roman, you've been doing all this wrong. You think kicking Jey out of the bloodline is the answer? You think you're still the head of the table? Asterisk. Roman's eyes narrowed, his jaw clenching in frustration. He could feel the situation slipping away. Sami Zayn wasn't just making a return for no reason, he was here for a purpose. Roman Reigns, what the hell are you doing here, Sami? Asterisk. Sami Zayn, I'm here because it's time to remind you, Roman. You've isolated yourself. You think you can just push everyone away and still call yourself the head of the table? Asterisk. Sami's words cut through the tension, and the WWE Universe could feel the shift. He wasn't just talking to Roman, he was talking to everyone who had ever doubted the bloodline. He was calling out Roman's actions, his self-centered behavior, and his manipulation of those closest to him. Sami Zayn, Roman, you've pushed everyone away. But Jey is the heart of the bloodline. You don't just get to cast him aside like that. Roman's anger reached a boiling point as he turned his attention to Sami, his voice laced with venom. Roman Reigns, you think you can come back here and talk to me like that? I gave you everything, Sami. You betrayed me, and now you're trying to lecture me? Asterisk. Sami smiled, his confidence growing. Sami Zayn, maybe it's not about betrayal, Roman. Maybe it's about love and loyalty. Maybe it's about family. Asterisk. Roman's expression faltered for a moment, the weight of Sami's words settling in. His mind raced, unsure of what direction to take. And then, in an unexpected moment of clarity, Roman Reigns' grip on his power seemed to waver. But Sami's appearance was not the only twist in this chapter. As Roman prepared to face Sami Zayn, the arena suddenly erupted once more. A figure appeared behind Jey Uso, Solo Sikoa, the enforcer of the bloodline. The one Roman had trusted more than anyone. And yet, in that moment, Solo's loyalty would be questioned. Solo stood silently, his eyes locked on Roman. The tension between the two was palpable, the entire arena waiting for Solo's decision. And then, without a word, Solo turned to Jey Uso, offering him a silent nod. The crowd exploded as the twist revealed itself. Solo Sikoa was backing Jey Uso. Roman's world seemed to crumble in an instant. His empire, built on power and dominance, was now fractured. Sami Zayn had returned to expose Roman's weaknesses. Solo had defied him. And Jey, the very man he had cast aside, was now being offered a second chance by his own enforcer. The bloodline was no longer under Roman's control. The era of the tribal chief had come to an unexpected and dramatic end. WWE signs another bloodline member. Potential Roman Reigns recruit revealed. Reports Roman Reigns has been trying to regain his power over the bloodline ever since he made his return to WWE back at SummerSlam. This is because following WrestleMania, Solo Sikoa had broken up his family and made his own. It seems that there could be another recruit for Roman Reigns heading in the direction of SmackDown in the coming months, since it was recently reported by Fightful Select that Lance Anoa'i has officially signed with WWE. It was noted that Anoa'i signed in the summer but has been struggling with an injury and likely won't be cleared for a while. It was also noted that he isn't currently factored into any plans on NXT or the main roster. That being said, Lance is the son of Samu, who is a former WWE star and someone well known to be part of the Samoan family. How will Lance Anoa'i fit in with his family in WWE? Anoa'i has been pushing to be signed by Triple H for more than a year, and finally, it seems that he has been able to pique their interest. It will be interesting to see if he has a similar development to Solo Sikoa in NXT before he is called up when the moment is right. Sikoa was able to make a name for himself alone in NXT before he joined his family on the main roster, and has since been able to create his own bloodline with Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, and Jacob Fatu. It will be interesting to see how Anoa'i is used and which side of the bloodline war he will be put on, or if he will work with Hikuleo, who was also reportedly signed by the company earlier this year. It seems to be an interesting time for the bloodline, and the current possibilities for the main roster storylines are endless. The WWE Universe has been buzzing with anticipation after recent reports hinted that another bloodline member could soon join WWE. This mysterious recruit would join the illustrious Samoan dynasty alongside Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, and the Usos, intensifying speculation about the faction's future direction. Rumors say this newcomer, a relative of Reigns, might bring a new level of intrigue and power dynamics to WWE's top faction. Fans are curious, could this be the shakeup the bloodline needs, or a betrayal in disguise? WWE's interest in expanding the bloodline. With the massive success of the bloodline storyline, WWE officials reportedly want to expand the faction by introducing new family members. The group has consistently been at the forefront of WWE programming, often headlining shows and pay-per-views. Adding fresh talent to the bloodline could reignite interest and deepen the family narrative that has captured fans worldwide. But the decision isn't only about storytelling. WWE sees potential in harnessing the charisma and athletic prowess inherent in the Anoa'i family lineage. Backstage sources indicate that Roman Reigns himself has been heavily involved in the decision-making process. He has reportedly pushed for talent he believes could maintain the high standards set by current bloodline members. Known for his meticulous attention to detail, Reigns has kept WWE's top brass engaged in meetings, discussing exactly who would be the best addition to cement the bloodline's dominance. A new recruit emerges. Meet Zayn Fatu. Word has leaked that WWE is eyeing Zayn Fatu, the son of Rikishi and cousin to the Usos. While Zayn Fatu has been working the independent circuit and training at various wrestling schools, he has reportedly caught WWE's attention as someone with serious potential. At 6 feet 4 inches and a muscular 250 pounds, Zayn possesses the physicality and presence WWE loves to cultivate. The resemblance to his father, Rikishi, is uncanny, and he even has some of his iconic moves. From power slams to agility that belies his size, Zayn Fatu has shown flashes of brilliance. A recruit like Zayn could bring a fresh yet familiar energy to the bloodline. Insiders suggest he's not only physically prepared but understands the storytelling that has made the Bloodline saga so captivating. Fans have speculated on how Zayn might fit into the existing dynamics, especially with Roman Reigns holding onto the head of the table position. Some wonder if Zayn would play a supporting role, or if he might disrupt the hierarchy, creating potential tensions that could lead to dramatic infighting. The Bloodline's potential power struggles as dominant as Roman Reigns is. Adding another powerful family member brings a natural question: will Reigns feel threatened? For someone who has built his persona around being the undisputed leader, Reigns might see Zayn as both a valuable ally and a possible rival. Such an addition could amplify tensions within the Bloodline, particularly if Zayn isn't ready to fall in line as easily as Solo Sikoa. Recent storylines have seen Reigns clash with his cousins, the Usos, who have at times challenged his authority. Zayn, with his unique background and fresh perspective, might be reluctant to submit to Reigns' rule, especially if he feels entitled to carve his own path. The prospect of a young, powerful relative standing his ground against Roman Reigns is an intriguing one and could lay the groundwork for thrilling conflicts within the Bloodline. Paul Heyman, Reigns' special counsel, would likely have a strong opinion on the matter. Known for his behind-the-scenes strategizing, Heyman might view Zayn as a potential threat to Roman's dominance or as an asset that needs controlling. Given Heyman's masterful manipulation skills, he could play a role in swaying Zayn's loyalty, perhaps even convincing him to align fully with Roman or, alternatively, encouraging him to stake a claim as a new figure within the Bloodline. WWE's long-term vision for the Bloodline adding Zayn Fatu isn't just a short-term move. WWE reportedly sees this addition as part of a larger, long-term storyline. The company wants to craft a succession plan that could allow the Bloodline narrative to evolve for years, ensuring that even when Roman Reigns decides to step back, the Bloodline remains relevant. One possible scenario is setting up Zayn Fatu as a protege under Roman's guidance, allowing him to gradually earn his way to a leadership position. This would allow Reigns to remain in control while grooming his successor. However, an alternative, and perhaps more dramatic, possibility could see Zayn rise to challenge Reigns directly, culminating in a high-stakes battle for the title of head of the table. If WWE decides to pull the trigger on this storyline, fans could see months or even years of gradual build-up. Zayn could start by teaming up with Solo Sikoa in tag matches, building his reputation before inevitably facing Roman in a climactic showdown. Such a build-up would not only establish Zayn as a legitimate threat, but also serve as a passing of the torch moment, potentially culminating in a WrestleMania showdown. Fan reactions and expectations. The WWE Universe is divided on the idea of a new Bloodline recruit. While many fans are excited by the prospect of fresh talent, others worry about the faction becoming too overcrowded, diluting the impact each member brings. The Bloodline's success has largely hinged on the chemistry between Roman, Solo, and the Usos, with Paul Heyman adding depth. A new addition could disrupt this balance or bring a rejuvenated energy that propels the storyline forward. On social media, fans have debated how Zayn Fatu's arrival could affect ongoing feuds. Would his addition give the Bloodline an edge over groups like the Judgment Day, or perhaps even rekindle past rivalries with stars like Cody Rhodes or Seth Rollins? Some fans hope Zayn would act as a wildcard, shaking up alliances and adding a layer of unpredictability to WWE programming. Many fans have also expressed a desire to see the Bloodline storyline return to its roots, emphasizing family bonds and loyalty. If Zayn Fatu were to join, he could add a fresh dynamic to this theme, reminding viewers of the intricate web of family ties that has made the Bloodline saga resonate so deeply. He could represent a younger generation of the family, blending respect for tradition with a modern, rebellious twist. Conclusion: a new chapter for the Bloodline? While WWE has yet to confirm the signing of Zayn and Fatu, reports and fan excitement suggest that the Bloodline storyline could soon enter a new chapter. Adding a new family member would not only expand the group but add complex layers to an already intricate narrative. Whether Zayn and Fatu becomes Roman Reigns' trusted ally, a rebellious relative, or something in between, the potential is limitless. Roman Reigns has held WWE's attention with his dominant tribal chief persona, but every dynasty must face challenges from within. If Zayn joins the Bloodline, it could be the beginning of a power struggle that forever changes WWE's most powerful faction. Whether he rises to embrace the family legacy or sets out to create his own path, the WWE Universe is poised to witness the next evolution of the Bloodline, one where alliances, rivalries, and family bonds are tested in ways that only the world of WWE can deliver. Unexpected name to convince Jey Uso to let Sami Zayn join the OG Bloodline? Exploring the chances Jey Uso wasn't left feeling juicy after Sami Zayn accidentally smashed Roman Reigns with a hell of a kick at Crown Jewel. The former stablemates erupted like volcanoes on the latest episode of WWE Raw, and Sami refused to have his loyalty questioned once again. Jey Uso requested the former Intercontinental Champion to come to the upcoming episode of SmackDown so that the Usos, Roman Reigns, and Sami Zayn can resolve the situation like family does. Unfortunately, Jimmy isn't too convinced about whether the former honorary Us can be trusted or not. Well, one person can change Jey Uso's mind. At WWE SmackDown, Roman Reigns can fix the situation by convincing Jey Uso to let Zayn return to the OG Bloodline. The OTC is changing with every passing appearance. He could explain to Jey Uso that the Canadian deserved the benefit of the doubt and the kick was truly an accident. Even though Roman Reigns was left confused and shocked at Crown Jewel, he must have taken his time to evaluate the situation in these past few days. Getting kicked in the face and yet taking a stand for Sami Zayn is highly unexpected from the OTC. Hence, the crowd will blow the roof off the arena if Roman embraces Sami as one of his own and accepts him as family, even if they aren't related by blood. That said, the angle is speculative at this point. Jey Uso might be the only one who has forgiven Roman Reigns. The idea behind bringing back the former members of the OG Bloodline was to show that family comes above all, and one shows up for their close one. However, between the Usos and Roman Reigns, the situation might be different from what meets the eye. On the Not Sam Wrestling podcast, Sam Roberts claimed that Jey Uso might be the only one who has forgiven Roman Reigns. According to the analyst, Main Event Jey was still on the fence about the OTC, and the former undisputed WWE champion was well aware of that. So, Jey trusts Jimmy. And Jey has his own rivalry with this new bloodline. But I don't think Jey specifically thinks that Roman should have the Ula Fala back. I don't think Jey's forgiven Roman Reigns. And I think Roman Reigns is aware of that and has resentment towards it. Roman Reigns is aware that Jey quit on him. Roman Reigns is aware that Jey still has resentment towards him. Roman Reigns is aware that 3 weeks ago, he told Jey he was proud of him, and Jey walked away and said, "No yeet." At Crown Jewel, Jey did not tag in Roman even though it was clear that the OTC wanted to be a part of the action. To a certain extent, even Jey Uso was concerned with his former tag team partner not tagging in the original tribal chief. As WWE entered one of its most intense story arcs, tension ran high backstage among the key players in the bloodline. The once impenetrable family had splintered in Roman Reigns' absence, leaving Jey Uso at the helm, uncertain and vulnerable. Solo Sikoa was as unwavering as ever, ready to defend the family's name with brutal force, but Jimmy knew that without a strong direction, they risked losing everything they had built. Roman's dominance was waning, his iron grip loosening as he focused on his personal life and injuries. The family had one slim chance to regain their footing, but Jimmy wasn't sure if he could trust the idea or the man behind it. Enter Sami Zayn, the unlikeliest of allies. Though once a beloved honorary Us, Sami had left a mixed legacy in his wake. He had stood by the bloodline, he had betrayed them, and now, after months of wariness and separation, he wanted back in. The notion seemed absurd, yet the more Jimmy thought about it, the more it felt like the missing piece to reforge the faction and bring honor to their name once more. But he couldn't make this decision alone. Jimmy needed counsel from someone unexpected, someone who knew loyalty, betrayal, and the weight of family legacy as only an outsider could. One night, backstage, Jimmy got a call from an unknown number. The voice on the other end was gruff yet familiar, carrying the kind of gravitas that only came from years in the industry. It was none other than The Rock, Dwayne Johnson himself, reaching out from his Hollywood life. Jimmy couldn't hide his surprise. "Dwayne?" Jimmy's voice held a tremor of disbelief. "Jimmy, you're in a tough spot, cousin," The Rock replied. "I can see it, and the fans can feel it. The bloodline is unraveling, and you're the one holding it together." Jimmy nodded, swallowing hard. "I've been thinking that maybe we could bring Sami back. But Solo, Roman, they'd lose it." The Rock chuckled softly. "You know what makes the bloodline different from any other faction, Jimmy? It's the family element. And sometimes, family includes people who aren't actually related by blood. Look at what happened with me and Mick Foley back in the day. He wasn't family, but he gave me the boost I needed to cement myself as The Rock. I think Sami could be that for you." Jimmy's mind reeled. Having Dwayne Johnson vouch for Sami Zayn was unexpected, to say the least. But The Rock's words carried weight. His career had been built on understanding what the WWE Universe wanted and how to leverage that. "But why him?" Jimmy asked, almost pleading. "Why should Sami be part of this?" "Because Sami has something that's rare in this business, unconditional loyalty, even after he's been hurt," The Rock replied. "When Roman had him, Sami fought for him. When the bloodline turned on him, he didn't just walk away. He stood his ground, fought, and proved his worth. Fans see that kind of loyalty, and they respect it. You need someone who can prove that loyalty goes beyond blood." Jimmy mulled over The Rock's words. Loyalty beyond blood. The phrase struck a chord in him. Sami had risked his career, his reputation, and even his friendships in the locker room to fight for the bloodline at one point. He had bled and sweated with them, defended them, and ultimately, when the moment of betrayal had come, he hadn't backed down. It had been ugly, it had been brutal, but he had survived. "Roman always saw Sami as weak," Jimmy admitted. "I don't know if he'll ever accept him back." "Forget about what Roman thinks right now," The Rock countered. "Roman's got his own struggles. The bloodline's future is in your hands, Jimmy. You're the one who can bring back the loyalty, the pride, the fight that made you guys unstoppable." The Rock's words rang with a truth that Jimmy hadn't been ready to face until now. He had always considered Roman the leader, the absolute final say, but things were different now. Roman had chosen to step away, and it was Jimmy's turn to lead, not just by name, but by vision. The conversation lingered in Jimmy's mind as he hung up, the pressure mounting. He needed to take this idea to someone else, someone closer, who knew the ins and outs of the current bloodline dynamic and could weigh the risks and rewards. That someone, oddly enough, was Paul Heyman. Though an outsider himself, Heyman had always held a deep understanding of family ties and wrestling loyalty. He had navigated Roman's career through his reign, and now Jimmy hoped he could see the potential in Sami's return. When Jimmy found him, Heyman was in his usual state, pacing back and forth, one hand stroking his chin. "Paul, we need to talk," Jimmy began. He explained everything, from The Rock's unexpected call to his own doubts and hopes for the bloodline's future. Heyman listened intently, his brow furrowed in concentration. Finally, he spoke. "Bringing Sami back would be controversial. Some will see it as a betrayal of everything the bloodline has stood for in recent months. But," he continued, a spark igniting in his eyes, "it might also be the very thing that brings the fans back on your side. They respect Sami, perhaps even more now that he's proven he can stand on his own. If he returns, he brings a fresh energy and loyalty that goes beyond anything we've had so far." Jimmy nodded, feeling a surge of confidence. This was beginning to make sense. Sami's loyalty had been tested in ways most wrestlers would never know, and if he was willing to join the bloodline again, it would be a sign that their family could overcome any past betrayal. The night of the big reveal arrived. In the arena, fans buzzed with anticipation as Jimmy entered the ring, flanked by Solo and Heyman. The spotlight was on him, and he could feel the weight of the decision he was about to make. "The bloodline's been through a lot," he began, looking out at the crowd. "We've fought, we've broken, we've rebuilt. But if there's one thing we're missing, it's loyalty that goes beyond blood." The crowd fell silent as he paused, letting his words sink in. "Tonight, I'm bringing back a man who's been through everything with us. Someone who fought for us, even when he didn't have to. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back, Sami Zayn." The arena erupted into cheers and gasps as Sami's entrance music hit. He walked out, his expression a mix of determination and gratitude. Standing in the ring across from Jimmy and Solo, Sami nodded respectfully, knowing that this wasn't just a comeback but a reunion built on pain, redemption, and mutual respect. Jimmy extended his hand, and after a moment's hesitation, Sami took it, shaking firmly. It was a simple gesture, but one that signified a powerful commitment, that the bloodline was evolving, stronger and deeper than before. As the crowd roared, Jimmy knew they had just made the move that would redefine the bloodline's legacy, proving that family wasn't just about blood, it was about loyalty, heart, and the willingness to fight side by side, no matter the cost. Top WWE name wanted to cash in on Roman Reigns, claims he didn't want to cross paths with Seth Rollins. Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins have been WWE's cornerstones for over a decade, and they have carried brands on their backs when needed. Meanwhile, Austin Theory recently got candid about his failed Money in the Bank cash-in in 2022 and explained why he wanted to go after the original tribal chief instead of the Visionary. A few years ago, WWE was in a difficult position as Roman Reigns held 2 world titles. Meanwhile, Seth Rollins won the United States Championship and tried to elevate the title as a workhorse champion on Monday Night Raw. However, the reign ended when Austin Theory won the title at Survivor Series 2022. In an interview with Chris Van Vliet on Insight, Theory stated there was never a plan in place when he won his previous titles or the Money in the Bank briefcase. The SmackDown star became Mr. MITB at the titular PLE in 2022 but had a failed cash-in against then U.S. champion Seth Rollins before the Survivor Series event. Austin revealed that he wanted to cash in on Roman Reigns instead of the Architect, as he would have looked cool even in defeat compared to what transpired. "I don't feel like there's ever a plan. To be honest with you, the only thing that I kind of knew that was going to be if you know a match you're going to have at a pay-per-view. Even when I had the U.S. title the first time, shrugs, Money in the Bank, shrugs, second time U.S. title, shrugs, you know, it's just kind of seeing what rolls," Theory said. And then at the same time, too, with the briefcase, I was in such a tough spot because of Roman Reigns, the position he was in, and where they were going with him. I would have loved to cash in on Roman, even if it was a failed attempt. I think that would have been cool because I would have never cashed in on the United States Championship. H/T, CVV. Austin Theory never crossed paths with Roman Reigns after his failed cash-in against Seth Rollins. Austin Theory's momentum abruptly ended when Vince McMahon stepped down and left WWE. Meanwhile, Triple H's regime pushed Seth Rollins as the second biggest name in the company during Cody Rhodes' injury-related hiatus. However, Theory's dream of squaring off against Roman Reigns never came to fruition. The two had segments on Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown when the 27-year-old was Mr. Money in the Bank. Unfortunately, the unproven one was kept away from the OTC after Theory's failed cash-in against the Visionary. The two went on separate journeys, and Austin Theory hasn't crossed paths with Reigns since 2022. In the high-stakes world of WWE, where ambition meets opportunity at every turn, no name stands higher right now than that of Roman Reigns. Reigns has held the Universal Championship for a reign of unprecedented dominance, facing down all comers. But, as he knows all too well, in WWE, there's always someone waiting in the wings, ready to pounce on any moment of vulnerability. Recently, rumors have been swirling that a top WWE superstar had been plotting to cash in on Roman Reigns, but what's even more surprising is the twist. This superstar has supposedly avoided any confrontation with Seth Rollins. The name at the heart of this rumor is none other than Drew McIntyre. Known for his power, agility, and warrior spirit, McIntyre has been a mainstay in the main event scene for years. Many fans remember how close he came to dethroning Roman Reigns in the past. Yet, despite his ambitions, Drew's approach to his climb back to the top has recently seemed calculated. He's biding his time, observing, and as the rumor mill would have it, he had an interesting plan, cashing in on Reigns but steering clear of Rollins altogether. According to backstage whispers, McIntyre's camp had been eyeing every move of the tribal chief for months. The idea was simple in concept but daring in execution. McIntyre would make a shocking return to his glory days by targeting Roman Reigns in an epic cash-in. However, this wasn't about a Money in the Bank contract. Rather, it was about a surprise title shot at the perfect moment, maybe following an intense match where Reigns was worn down. WWE officials allegedly discussed scenarios where McIntyre could emerge at the tail end of a grueling title defense by Reigns. In theory, McIntyre's return to dominance in this manner would have electrified the crowd, giving WWE fans the kind of jaw-dropping moment they live for. Yet, while he wanted Reigns, he made one thing clear in any plan they set: Seth Rollins was not an opponent he wished to face along the way. Many speculate that McIntyre's decision to avoid crossing paths with Rollins isn't rooted in fear but in respect, and a touch of rivalry that hasn't quite reached the right moment. Rollins, the reigning World Heavyweight Champion, represents something very different from Roman. Rollins is a man who lives in chaos, thriving off unpredictability and pushing the limits in every performance. McIntyre, however, prefers control and strategy, knowing how to wield brute strength in focused ways. The pair have had several encounters in the past, with Rollins often playing mind games that forced McIntyre to dig deeper and recalibrate his approach. In McIntyre's mind, facing Rollins now would be a mental war, one that might drain him before he even reached Reigns. Besides, McIntyre seemed to understand that Rollins' unpredictable nature could derail his grand plan at any given moment. Back in the Bloodline's headquarters, Roman Reigns couldn't help but hear the murmurs circulating about McIntyre's intentions. The tribal chief, always 3 steps ahead of his opponents, quickly had Paul Heyman digging into the rumors. Reigns, who has famously claimed that everyone works for him, had mixed feelings. On one hand, Reigns knew McIntyre would be a worthy challenge. On the other, the idea of someone plotting a calculated ambush, while not foreign in WWE, was something Reigns saw as an insult to his reign. He thrived on open challenges, not cheap opportunities. However, the knowledge that McIntyre was avoiding Rollins caught his interest. He doesn't want to face Rollins? Reigns questioned one evening, looking over at Heyman with a raised eyebrow. Heyman, ever the opportunist, tried to spin it positively. Drew McIntyre knows his limits, Heyman replied smoothly. You, my tribal chief, are an entirely different level than Rollins. But Reigns was silent, pondering. He knew McIntyre wasn't one to cower, yet the decision to avoid Rollins had his curiosity piqued. It hinted that McIntyre might be playing a longer game, waiting for Rollins to tire himself out or maybe even to lose his title, thus leaving Reigns as his sole focus. Reigns respected strategy, but he never shied from confrontation, and he expected the same from his challengers. It wasn't long before word reached Seth Rollins himself. The visionary was not one to be ignored, especially when it came to championship pursuits. Rollins has always thrived on rivalries, especially those involving his old Shield brethren, and he took it personally that McIntyre would single him out as someone to avoid. During a promo segment on WWE Raw, Rollins let loose, addressing the rumors directly. So, I hear Big Drew wants Roman, but he doesn't want me, Rollins began with a smirk, the crowd erupting. Well, seems like I'm the name he's afraid to whisper in his little warrior code book. Rollins took a moment, laughing as the fans began chanting his name. But here's the thing, Drew, if you think you're going to sneak your way to the top, you've got another thing coming. Because every road in WWE leads through me, one way or another. So, anytime you want to man up and take on this champion, I'll be waiting. McIntyre, not one to let anyone question his bravery, addressed Rollins the following week on WWE SmackDown. Standing in the ring, his voice was calm but laced with determination. "Seth, let's get one thing straight," McIntyre said, narrowing his gaze. "This isn't about avoiding you out of fear, this is about priorities. You and I will cross paths when the time is right, but I'm not here to play games. Roman Reigns has been the mountain I need to conquer." The crowd buzzed with excitement, sensing the electricity in the air. McIntyre continued, "I respect what you bring to the table, Seth, but this isn't about you. This is about reclaiming what should have been mine, and right now, that's Roman's title." McIntyre's words hung in the air, creating a new level of anticipation. He hadn't backed down from Rollins, but had made his intentions toward Reigns even more clear. While McIntyre and Rollins might avoid a clash for now, fans knew it was only a matter of time before these two forces collided. Reigns might be the primary target, but as both Rollins and McIntyre made clear, neither man was backing down. It was a collision of paths and priorities, a powder keg waiting to explode. With WrestleMania looming on the horizon, one question remained: would McIntyre finally get his chance to cash in on Roman Reigns? Or would Rollins, driven by a need to defend his territory, step in and force the battle Drew had been trying to avoid? The WWE Universe, as always, remained captivated, knowing that in this arena, ambition, rivalry, and strategy would ultimately decide who reigned supreme.